Hey guys, it's me, Sam Stein, managing editor at the Bulwark, and I'm joined by Andrew Egger, who is the author of Morning Shots. We are here to talk about habeas corpus, or frankly, can you define habeas corpus? And are you a cabinet official who can define the term habeas corpus? Because apparently there's one cabinet official who has no idea what it is, and she's in a pretty influential position. That's the tease. Before we get to the substance, subscribe to the feed. We appreciate all the subscriptions. Like our content, share it with family and friends. It's educational and informative. It's good for the brain. All right, Andrew, let's talk shop. Kristi Noem, who is our Secretary of Homeland Security, had a little trouble today defining habeas corpus during a budget hearing in the Senate. This is Senator Maggie Hassan. Let's roll the tape.
So, Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right to.
Let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
President Lincoln used it.
Excuse me. Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people. If not for that protection, the government could simply arrest people, including American citizens, and hold them indefinitely for no reason. Habeas corpus is the foundational right that separates free societies like America from police states like North Korea. As a senator from the live free or die state, this matters a lot to me and my constituents and to all Americans. So, Secretary Noem, do you support the core protection that habeas corpus provides, that the government must provide a public reason in order to detain and imprison someone?
Yeah, I support habeas corpus. I also recognize that the President of the United States has the authority under the Constitution to decide if it should be suspended or not.
It has never
Let us be clear, though,
it has never been done. It has never been done without approval of Congress. Even Abraham Lincoln got retroactive approval from Congress.
Okay, you go first, and I'm going to read some of the headlines that Kristi Noem received for this flub. But what are your initial reactions to this?
She sort of got sandbagged. Let's say that off the top. It's a little bit of a gotcha question in the sense that she's not expecting to be asked it. Let me just say that right off the top. Okay, we're done. We give her one thing. Don't tell me that it's come on, she should have known. Of course she should have known. But it's just funny to see it kind of happen in real time where she's like, oh, I'm gonna get destroyed for this one, aren't I? And she kind of, you think
she saw that? You think
I think she keeps a straight face. Her poker face is amazing. And this is like the thing that we see over and over again with Kristi Noem is like, because there have been so many of these bizarre news cycles where like, all the interviews that she had to do after her book came out and it came out that she had like shot that dog or last week.
Her dog.
Her dog. It got her dog.
It wasn't some stray dog roaming the property. It was her dog.
When Eric Swalwell, ambushed her with the pictures of Kilmar Abrego Garcia's tattoos, was like, "Are these photoshopped? This picture that the president was holding up, is that photoshopped?" And she wouldn't look at the picture, and she just like couldn't get off the moment. But the whole time, she's able to just kind of like deadpan and stare straight ahead and not break, which I guess is admirable in a way. But no, let's hear some of those headlines. It was a rough moment for the.
Do you think like there's something about her that makes her uniquely targeted for sandbagging? Because this is now her showmanship at these hearings. This is twice now that this has happened to her. But I don't think it's. We can just debate whether this was a sandbag. And this is, if you're in the act of trying to suspend the principle, you should probably know what the principle is. Anyways, headlines. I'm just going to read a few. This is just brutal. Axios, Noem botches habeas corpus question at Senate hearing. CNN, Noem incorrectly says habeas corpus allows Trump to remove people from this country. New York Times, Kristi Noem incorrectly defines habeas corpus as the president's right to deport people. Politico, Noem defends potentially suspending habeas corpus flub's definition as Trump's right to remove people. Oh, and the Daily Beast, my alum, my old stomping grounds, they were a little harsh on this one. Ice Barbie, Kristi Noem offers her own made-up definition of habeas corpus. I guess the beast has to beast. So that was, I think you obviously should know what it means. I think the fact that, it's not that she didn't know what it means, her definition of it was like totally revealing too, right? It's like, oh yeah, it gives Trump the right to do whatever he wants, basically.
Yeah, 100%. And there's a reason. There is a reason why she keeps getting into these situations, and it's the combination of the fact that ultimately she's the cabinet official with whom all of the, not all, but a big chunk of the most controversial, the most kind of alarming stuff the administration is doing, the buck stops with her on this stuff. All of this, all of the deportations, all of the stuff with, sending migrants to El Salvador and yanking people's protected status and these sort of misinformation campaigns against individual people who have been swept up in these drag nets and smearing them as terrorists and gang members and all this sort of stuff. All of that ultimately lands at her feet. So she has a lot of very difficult questions to answer. And meanwhile, she herself is, one, not particularly adept at answering these kinds of questions, and two, she's just kind of a faintly ridiculous. She's a very ridiculous figure just in general. I mean, she's among the more kind of like bombastic and just kind of like out there members of an administration that's full of bombastic and out there people. With her kind of, I mean, the whole Ice Barbie thing refers to her cosplay, going along on these raids, carrying weapon, wearing all kitted out in the gear, and it's just, I mean, it's all has this sort of faintly ridiculous air to it. And when you combine it all, she's a headline machine.
Yeah. And, I think part of it is that everyone knows that this is just performative or not. I want to just be clear. It's very serious what's happening, but her testimony is performative. It's designed to never admit fault and to please Donald Trump. And so, it forces her, compels her to do ridiculous things like never acknowledge that Eric Swalwell's staffer is holding literally a huge board in front of her, or admit that the tattoos that Trump thinks are on Kilmar Abrego Garcia's knuckles, which are just obviously photoshopped, never admit that they're photoshopped. And so then she gets put in these absurd positions and looks bad. So part of this, I think, is not totally her fault. It's Trump's fault because Trump demands these obsequious displays. The contrast today is with Marco Rubio, another cabinet secretary, Secretary of State. He's on the Hill as well. He's talking to, I believe, the Foreign Relations Committee, and he's getting into it with Senator Kristi Van Hollen, who is the one senator who actually went down to El Salvador, met with Abrego Garcia. Rubio and him just had a really heated exchange. It went on for several minutes. It took place after Van Hollen's questioning was done. Chair of the committee allowed Rubio to respond. Van Hollen took a lot of umbrage to that because Rubio used the occasion to just go off on Van Hollen and to misrepresent a few things, including accusing Van Hollen of having margaritas with Abrego Garcia when that was set up by the Salvadoran government. Anyways, let's watch a little bit of that. And you had some interesting thoughts on the contrast between Rubio and Noem. We can get to that at the end.
And I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back.
May I respond?
You may sit.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job, based on what I know.
Well, that's just a flippant statement, Mr.
For.
Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
You may.
I didn't ask.
Senator, please let the Secretary have
I'd be
the floor.
happy to, but then I can respond to his
Your
response.
time's up, Senator, and willfully used, I might add.
Well,
your remarks do not represent the view of this committee.
Well, Mr.
Secretary,
Chairman,
please.
Well, I'd like to. I can't respond to everything he said because much of these are untrue, but I'll go through a few. First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation. I don't regret psychosocial support services.
I raised
USAID.
Sudan, Mr. Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr.
Senator,
Chairman,
Senator, I'd ask you to suspend. You had 7 straight minutes.
I chose to use my time that way, Mr. Chairman. That's my right to
Please
use
suspend
my time that way.
Secretary Rubio.
In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear. In the days to come, you're going to see who you went to defend.
Senator,
I'm sorry,
please,
Mr. Chairman.
Secretary
No.
Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated
Senator,
comments like that.
Secretary Rubio has the floor. You had
Secretary
your time.
Rubio should take that testimony to the federal court in
Senator,
the United States because he hasn't done it under oath.
About the student visas, let me say this. I don't deport anybody, and I don't snatch anybody. The State Department does not have officers in the street snatching everybody. What I do is revoke visas. And it's very simple. A visa is not a right. It is a privilege. People apply for student visas to come into the United States and study. And if you tell me that you're coming to the United States to lead campus crusades, to take over libraries and try to burn down buildings and acts of violence, we're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what Ms. Hostork did?
We're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what she did? Come
that,
on, Mr. Secretary.
And every single
You're
one of
just
these
blowing
cases, the
smoke
factors
here
are
now.
different.
Senator,
the bottom line is, if you're
Senator,
coming here to stir up trouble on our campuses, we will deny you a visa. And if you
Does
have
the
a
First
visa
Amendment
and we find
apply
you,
to
we'll
people
revoke
living
it.
in the United States?
And we're going to do more. There are more coming. We're going to continue to revoke the visas of people who are here as guests and are disrupting our higher education facilities. People are paying money. These kids pay money to go to school, and they have to walk through a
Writing an
bunch of
op-ed
lunatics
to the
who are
tough
here on student
newspapers
visas.
disrupting the
Simple
foreign
as
policy of the United
I want to
States.
do more. I hope we can
That's
find more of these people.
pathetic, Mr.
In fact, the other
Secretary.
day,
All right, so there's just a little clip of Rubio and Van Hollen. Why do you think Rubio is more effective?
Yeah, I mean, there's two things. I mean, effective is kind of a term. It's a little bit in the eye of the beholder, right? Because obviously he is dissembling and everything, but he's a good politician. I mean, we've known this about Marco Rubio forever, is that he is effective at spin. He's effective at deflecting. He's effective at taking a melon baller and carving out whatever parts of his brain hold the conscience and the stuff that he previously cared about in terms of foreign aid and standing up to dictators and all that stuff. Setting all that aside to just go out there and really put on kind of a righteous face and stonewall essentially and hold his own in a way that Donald Trump really appreciates. Donald Trump doesn't necessarily love to see Kristi Noem stepping on rakes. Donald Trump likes to see Marco Rubio out there dodging around the rakes. So that's the main thing there. Can I just say one thing also about that? I mean, the margaritas thing is just like a kind of a hobby horse of mine where I just can't.
I find it infuriating.
I find it infuriating that that is a thing that officials of our government have now picked up as.
Let me jump in here because I find it absolutely infuriating. He is actively taking the side of a El Salvadorian autocrat who is trying to humiliate a sitting U.S. senator, and he's taking the side of the autocrat.
And not just taking his side, but regurgitating
his propaganda.
The most flimsy, ridiculous, obscene, like the kind of propaganda that's only intended to work on like people who don't have a free media, right? Like if you are an autocrat who has squashed all dissent and people aren't allowed to get on the internet and figure out what's real, then maybe you can get away with like this kind of nonsense. But like the idea that the United States of America, that our government, that our top officials here not only would like not hate that and not oppose that, but that they would channel it themselves and use it to throw at their own domestic political opponents here for cheap shots. I mean, it's really grotesque, and my jaw hits the floor every time. It's been going on for a while.
It's the lowest rung. I will just add to that, like, he's dealing in an alternate reality with a lot of this stuff. I mean, there was a report yesterday from Cato that 50 or so Venezuelans who were sent to El Salvador were not, had no sort of legal case against them being here. They were here under legal protections. He's talking about revoking student visas. It's very evident, the courts have proven that in some of these cases, it's the flimsiest of pretexts to revoke visas. We're talking about like singular op-eds written as the sole basis for revoking visas. I mean, it's embarrassing if you look at the totality of the record, but he's defending it. Obviously, he's defending it because he's part of the administration. But, I thought when we say effective, we're just talking about as a mode of political communication. But some of the defense was really devoid of any sort of moral standing or factuality. And I thought that was evident in there. And you could tell Van Hollen was livid with some of the stuff he was saying because of it.
Yeah. And I don't know whether any of this stuff is stuff that Rubio actually cared about back in the day, whether he actually did have like a real opposition.
We presume he did, right? He used to be, I mean, you know better than I do. I mean, I assumed he was more in the mode of like, let's stand up to autocrats and let's protect free speech. And like, obviously he worked on immigration reform post 2012. I mean, he's changed.
He absolutely did all of those things in a political environment where it seemed like it was, beneficial for the politician for him to do all those things. And that's I think the kind of the last point I'm going to want to make about Rubio is like, obviously Rubio, whatever he did in the past, who knows whether he has always been. At the moment, Rubio is essentially a craven politician skin suit, right? I mean, he's allowed Donald Trump to fully like infuse him as a vessel so that he will have a future in this party, and it is causing him to do all these horrible things. And I think that one of the I'm not this is not breaking any news to anybody here, but one of the big reasons why we're in such a mess right now is because the whole Trump movement has made the incentives so horrible for all the craven politicians who are willing to be skin suits. Before, you could be a skin suit for some good things. Before, you could be just trying to be a craven politician and build your brand by opposing autocracy, by standing up for freedom in America and around the world, right? I mean, like that arguably that's what Rubio was doing before. If he's willing to let all that go now to be the Secretary of State for this guy and do all this shit today. But like, man, I would love to get back to an incentive structure where people who are actually acting selfishly are thereby motivated to stand up for some good things in the world. That's all. It's all so grotesque.
All right, skin suits and melons that you can scoop out with the brain. Andrew's got it all going on today.
Yeah, we started a little rocky, but we got we tuned it up by the end.
All right, thank you, buddy. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching the feed. Really appreciate that as well. Subscribe, and we will talk to you later.
Hey guys, it's Tim and Sarah. We're here with my frenemy, John Lovett from Love It or Leave It. June is Pride Month, and we're going to be live in D.C. on June 6th for World Pride for a very special live show fundraiser featuring the three of us, plus some gay special guests.
Crooked and the Bulwark will be donating the proceeds from this fundraiser to the Immigrant Defenders Law Center to support Andre Romero, the makeup artist who the Trump administration wrongly disappeared to El Salvador and who is currently being held in Secot.
Go to crooked.com/events.
And we will see you all on June 6th.